Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is Fanadian here. I'd like to welcome you guys all to another video. And today I'm going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins running back situation, heading into training camp. Just starting with, who's on the roster right now, who do I think is going to make the 53-man roster, and just some of my general thoughts on the position group, because I do have quite a few, because there's been a ton of talk about the running backs throughout this offseason. So let's get started here with the first guy listed on the Miami Dolphins website, and that is Malcolm Perry, the running back wide receiver hybrid. Some people might say he's more of a wide receiver than a running back, but I feel like if Malcolm is going to make the 53-man roster this year, it's going to have to be as an RB just because the wide receiver position is way more stacked for the Dolphins. There were some people hyped for Malcolm, even though he was a seventh round pick last year, because at Navy he had some pretty crazy highlights, but he didn't really get to see the field too much. I feel like a big reason why is because the team picked up Lynn Bowden Jr., who kind of fills the same role that Malcolm Perry had. So coming into this year, if he is going to make the team, he's going to have to probably take a giant leap from last year and really prove himself in this training camp. He is one of the players that, this training camp is going to be huge for. Jordan Scarlett's also here. He originally was drafted by the Panthers. He was a fifth round pick. Kind of served as their running back number three. Unfortunately, had some issues with injuries. Ended up on the Detroit Lions practice squad and got picked up by the Dolphins this year. Normally, I'd be like, just a camp body guy, probably not going to make the roster, but there have been some rumors from the mini camp that Jordan Scarlett was popping off, and Tua is a huge fan of the guy, so you can't look too deep into mini camp, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what the stories of this guy are coming out of training camp and to see how good he does in the preseason games because he is one of the guys that's going to be competing for like the final running back spot on the roster and will have an opportunity to try and make the team here. Next up, Patrick Laird joined the team in 2019 as an undrafted free agent, mainly known for his pass blocking abilities, but can catch and run the football. Kind of that jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy. It's just the main issue with Patrick Laird is I feel like he's just like a regular dude. He's not one of these NFL freak athletes. He's just some regular guy out there playing football, which does kind of make me appreciate him some more. But we'll see if Patrick ends up making the roster this year. If they do end up taking six running backs like they did last year, I could see him making the team. It's just that if they only take four or five guys into the season that are running backs, I don't know if he's going to make the cut, and he might have to find his way back down to the practice squad. Now we got Myles Gaskin, the main man here, going to be coming in as a starting running back for the Miami Dolphins. Was originally drafted in the seventh round in 2019 there. Didn't really do too much in his rookie year. Actually, didn't really do anything at all until the last couple of games, but took a giant leap coming into 2020. Came in as the backup to Matt Breida and Jordan Howard and ended up outperforming both of those guys and taking the starting role here. If we just look at him here and check out his stats, 142 carries, 584 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's not also including all the work he did in the passing game here, right? 41 receptions, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that's also without playing all games. He only played 10 games in 2020 because he did have an injury kind of in the middle of the season, and that is the biggest concern with Myles. I feel like is because of his size. People don't know if he can handle the load of being a starting running back. He has said he's working on doing some different exercises to work some different muscles he's never worked before to, try and become more injury resistant, I guess you could say. But he's definitely going to be a player with a spotlight on him this year because there are some Dolphins fans that are big Myles Gaskins truthers that think he is, a starting level running back and is good enough to be the starting RB for the Miami Dolphins. But there are also a lot of people doubting him that think we should have drafted one early, that want us to sign a free agent and don't think he can make it as, the main running back for the Miami Dolphins. Luckily for him, though, we are going to be running a bit of a running back by committee system this year, so he's not going to have to take on the full load of running back duties. And one of the guys that will probably help out with that is rookie Jared Dokes, who got drafted by the Dolphins this year in the seventh round. He might be like just a seventh rounder, but like I just said, Myles Gaskin was a seventh round pick, and even you look last year, James Robinson, undrafted free agent, was probably the best out of all the rookie running backs last year. And I feel like this guy would have definitely went before the seventh round if it wasn't for the fact that he went to Cincinnati, which is a smaller school, and that he did have an injury while he was in college. So Definitely a couple things that held him back. More of a bruiser type, run it up the middle type of guy in those short yardage situations, but can also show that he can catch passes out of the backfield. And speaking of another bruiser running back, Malcolm Brown, who was just signed this year to a 1 year, $1 million contract from the Los Angeles Rams, spent his whole career so far playing with the Rams, running in their running back by committee system, and then previously backing up Todd Gurley. Started off as their starting running back this year, but ended up losing his job to the younger guys as the season went on, as Cam Akers started to develop more, and I could see him kind of filling a similar role in this year with the Dolphins, where maybe Miles Gaskin's the RB1, Malcolm Brown's the RB2, and then maybe as the season goes on, maybe Jared Dokes or one of these other young guys steps up and takes over that position, or who knows, maybe Malcolm Brown comes in here in Miami and just absolutely pops off, because you never really know with any of these guys. And the last guy we'll talk about here for running backs, Solvent Ahmed, another undrafted free agent, was originally signed to the 49ers, got released by the Niners a few weeks into the season, got picked up by the Dolphins. The interesting thing about Solvent Ahmed is him and Miles Gaskin actually both went to the same college, Washington, together, where they were the running back duo there, and they absolutely dominated in the Pac 12. So would be interesting to see them do the same thing here in Miami. I know a lot of Miami Dolphins fans are hopeful they can do it. If we look at his stats for last year, it wasn't anything too crazy, but he did have some really good games, right? That first game against the Cardinals, he definitely showed some potential, showed his quickness. I guess that is the one thing about Sullivan is he's not the fastest guy, but he is super quick and he has a really fast burst of speed. He had another really good game against the Chargers, and that game against the Patriots where he was the first Dolphins player to have over 100 yards rushing in like 3 years, broke a bit of a bad streak they had going on. But the other thing about Sullivan is he also had some games where he completely disappeared. Is kind of in the same category of Miles Gaskin as being a smaller running back, only being 5'11, and we saw him really struggle in the pass protection game, which is something he'll have to step up in. But I'm really hoping he could take a leap like Miles did. I know these guys have been training together all off season. These dudes are boys. Like I said, they played together at Washington. So hopefully Miles is taking him under his wing here, and we'll see Sullivan make a big year two leap, because we are going to need to see some improvement out of these guys coming into this 2021 season. So let's go over who I think is going to make the team. Last year, the Finns brought six running backs into the season, including a fullback. So let's pick five guys out of the guys that are here, even though I'm seeing a lot of people predict they think the Dolphins will only bring four. So obviously, Miles Gaskin, the best running back on the roster, the best in the receiving game, running, and in pass blocking. He's going to be coming in as the number one guy. Backing him up, like I said, probably Malcolm Brown. I got Solvent Ahmed also making the team, and the rookie Jared Dokes this season. So if they do bring five, that fifth spot is going to be a giant competition between Patrick Laird, Jordan Scarlett, and Malcolm Perry. If I had to pick one of these guys, it's really hard. It's a complete toss-up. But I'm just going to go with Laird because he's been with the team, even though there is some Scarlett hype and Perry is a rookie last year. I think both these guys will go down to the practice squad. But we really don't know, because one of the things you might have noticed is I didn't mention that any early picks or any big contracts with these guys. So the Dolphins aren't really married to any of them. So any of these guys can really take over the starting role and make the team if they do have good training camp and preseason here and show that they have potential and can be the starting guy. So that's the running backs here. If you want me to just go over that one more time, I got Miles Gaskin, Jared Dokes, Malcolm Brown, Solvent Ahmed, and Patrick Laird is the guys that I think that are going to make the team. So now some general thoughts on the position group. Is this running back group good enough? I think they are good enough, but the expectations aren't super high for them. I definitely don't think we're going to be one of the top rushing teams in the NFL, but I also don't see them being one of the worst ones this season. But at the same time, I feel like the running backs and offensive line are kind of tied for being the biggest question marks on the roster, right? I'm feeling way better about a lot of the other position groups on the offense than the RBs, but there are some young guys here with potential that can, I guess prove me wrong here, right? Like I said, you never know. No one thought James Robinson was going to pop off like he did last year for the Jaguars. Maybe Jared Dokes comes in here and just looks like a monster in his rookie year. or Solvent Ahmed takes a giant year 2 leap. You never really know, but definitely think these guys can get the job done. Are the Dolphins going to sign a free agent running back? Probably not, but I feel like if the right situation arises, they will. You know, one thing you hear Chris Greer talk about all the time is how they're constantly looking how to improve at every position, and if the right trade situation pops up, they will go for it. So maybe if something happens where Denver's like, Melvin Gordon, we just drafted another guy, we don't need him anymore, we're looking to trade him, on the cheap, the Dolphins might go in there and get another guy. Or maybe if the running backs do come in here and it's rough and they do have a lot of injuries like they did last year, they will go and sign another running back. That is probably one of the other big question marks with these guys is, can Myles Gaskin and Solvent Ahmed stay healthy? Because both of these dudes did have injury issues last year because of their smaller stature. So we'll have to see how much that does limit them coming into this year. So looking at injuries is going to be huge. As long as there aren't any big injuries and the running backs can stay healthy, I'm going to be feeling pretty alright about this group. I think they have enough guys here to get the job done, especially because we are going to be running a running back by committee system where we'll probably see Miles get most of the work, Sullivan come in to back him up sometimes, and then Jared Dokes and Malcolm Brown coming in on those big short yardage situations where you need more of a bruisery type guy to just get that 1 yard. So running backs, feeling okay about the group here, I guess is my general thought about them. Other than that, just really excited to see what these guys do in training camp and to hear the stories about, who's really developed, who's winning the running back battle to be that number 2 guy. Because, as I said, Myles Gaskin probably has that number 1 spot locked in, but the competition to see who's going to be that number 2 guy behind him between Sullivan, Malcolm, and Jared is going to be pretty intense. And then if they do bring 5 guys, like I mentioned, that competition for the last spot is going to be pretty intense as well. So going to be interesting to really see what these guys do throughout training camp. And who knows, maybe the Dolphins go and make a giant trade at some point before the season starts and just kind of, throw everything I say out the window. So that's the running backs. Let me know what you guys think about this group. Will they be good? Do you got faith in Miles? Do you think he could prove he could be an RB1? Or do you think he's going to stink? Do you think they should, sign a guy, make a trade, do whatever? Comment down below. If you like the video, like it. If you want to see more Dolphins content, subscribe to the channel. And until then, thanks for watching everybody, and hopefully I see you in the next video.